obviously I've done a couple of videos and it's been great. I'll just give you a full history, and this will be a sort of history. Obviously, it's from my viewpoint, and obviously there'll be some inherent bias in what I say. But you know, I like to think people know me well enough now that I'm always fair. I might not always be nice, but I'm always fair. That's important. So, obviously, back in the day, G2, they pick up Hooksy, they pick up JKS. These were Reddit pickups. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, first of all, there's no reason to pick up Hooksy ever in a Tier 1 team. He was an in-game leader, abbreviated to IGL in the world of esports. He was an in-game leader for a bang average Danish team called Copenhagen Flames, and their only achievement, they didn't win a single thing, they never made it to a final, their only achievement was they did get top 8 at one major one time, right? Okay, and for some reason, because I don't know, Hooksy was kind of bad while that was happening. He was like the new Hunden, but the Copenhagen Flames players, by virtue of being Danish, had lived in kind of the shadows of Astralis and other great players. Everyone assumed he must be cooking in the kitchen. What's he cooking? People said, what's Hooksy cooking? He be Hooksin'. That's what people said. And so Reddit went and, you know, and they said, like, obviously, Hooksy's a good IGL, and G2 need an IGL because Nico keeps kicking his IGLs because it's always Nico's fault. So pick up Hooksy. Why not? Now, they could have had anyone else, but they didn't. But they get Hooksy. So Reddit talked Hooksy into that job, which is why they adamantly stand by him, despite the fact he's the worst Tier 1 pro since Hunden. And then the other thing is, of course, JKS, his career was over. It was toast. He was seeing out his contract on the bench at Complexity. Nobody wanted to pick him up. And you're going to, well, why is this? We'll talk about that later. Nobody wanted to pick him up. Jason Lake was literally trying to get him off the books because you don't want a player, like, put it this way, even with whatever it was, 30 or 50% in his contract while he was on the bench, it was still fucking loads. He was still making a fuck ton of money. Even when he was benched, he was making more money than probably most, if not all, of the Complexity starters. So Jason Lake was personally going out as a fucking delegate to people, going, have you heard of JKS? You seen JKS? You want a bit of JKS? We'll totally do JKS. Not even a buyout, probably. We'll just make it happen. We'd love to get him off the books. Nobody wanted him. You had Sponge going out there talking him up and saying fucking everyone, acting like a de facto agent, probably taking a cut, like knowing how Chad operates. But, oh yes, this is the Baggington Agency. Can I have some of your money, Justin? So anyway, all of that work, FaZe had a stand-in emergency, and they got JKS to stand in, and they won a tournament, and Reddit were going, oh, that smile, God, that smile, because, you know, he's an above-average-looking dude, so all the closeted Redditors are all there. Ooh, I love him, he's just so dreamy. He's just so dreamy and handsome. Why don't you just admit you fancy him? Oh, no, it's not that. He's just an amazing player, top 20 player, of course he is. So after that, he gets talked into being back on the market. And literally, if you remember that time, go back and watch my video, the first one I did, Reddit's obsession with JKS. They were all saying every time anyone needed any player, it didn't even matter what, you need an AWPer, JKS could probably AWP. There were threads every day. Where's JKS going? Where's JKS going? Where's JKS going? Who's signing JKS? Which team's JKS? That team could use JKS. You totally get that. That was what was going on, right? And so in the end, G2, who back then still had Carlos and all of that, so they actually paid attention to the fans. They literally were looking at Reddit every day, and they went, well, fuck it, Reddit's never wrong about anything. So why don't we get Hooksy and JKS in the team? And they did. And, you know, Nico and Hunter and the boys are like, well, I don't really care. Like, it's fine. I mean, yeah, whatever. Let's just play and win. And after that happened, they were dog shit. They flopped. Then, just when Hooksy was on the brink of getting kicked, he had a personal tragedy, went to a tournament, and obviously it's in December. It was the Blast World Finals. It's like 2 years ago or whatever now. No, sorry, 1 year ago now. You know, he went to that tournament, and fucking, they win it. They win as all the other teams are either changing rosters or they're dead rosters, and they win. Right? And everyone goes, wow, that's some baller shit. And it was. And even I said that. So, okay, good job. They then go on to win Katowice, which was February. Then there's another break, and teams shuffle again, and then they win the Cologne after that. In the meantime, they don't qualify. During that time, they don't qualify for a major. They flop at a major, and they don't win anything else. And everyone goes, oh, they won Katowice and Cologne. That's like winning 2 majors, they all say now, because JKS and Hooksy did it. Not true, of course. Never been true for any other team. So, fast forward to now. Fast forward to the present. And what happens? Well, they cut JKS. And everyone lost their mind because he's Reddit's favourite. And they were going, why? Why would they do this? There has to be something wrong. It's all Nico. Nico did this. It's got to be money. They did this. Sponge, apropos of nothing, on his podcast, Talking Counter. What was he saying? He was going, it's so bloody stupid. And they strung him along. They strung him along, they did. Get him, Reddit, get them. He strung him along. What do you mean he strung him along? Well, they didn't let him know he was cut until they had a replacement. Oh, you mean standard operating procedure then? No, but they strung him along. They strung him along because he's such a nice guy. That smile. It all started with that smile. Literally, there was a period of 2 weeks where, while they got the Nexa deal over the line, they didn't respond to him. It's so unprofessional. It's the worst thing an org's done. All right. Okay? This all seems totally normal and not just fucking psycho shit, right? So anyway, they cut him, they bring in Nexa. Everyone's like, oh my God, the org is so professional. I hate this org. Why would Nico do this? Hey, but they've still got Hooksy. Yabby Hooksin. We were never Hooksin. It was always about JKS. We wanted to lie with him. And so I did a video just recently, the second video on JKS. And I said he cannot fail, he can only be failed. And he's in the holy trinity of the J's. Joe Biden cannot fail, can only be failed. People didn't even understand that comment. What do you mean? Joe Biden has been a failure as a president. That's kind of the fucking joke. It's sarcasm. Come on in. Right? What I mean by that is when you have Joe Biden like falling over the stage and calling Xi Jinping dung eat ping or whatever the fuck he did the other day, or just out of his mind, and MSNBC are going, his aides really should look after him. It's like, okay, yeah, he can't fail, can he? He can only be failed. Jesus, who I've compared him to. Look, there he is. Thank you, Ghoul, for this picture. There he is. Just in case you missed the picture, you haven't paid attention. There he is. He's so handsome. That smile. Oh, God, that smile. JKS, that smile. There he is on his knees carrying the cross with a crown of thorns and a radiant halo. He's so pure, isn't he? God, I love JKS. I love him so much. I want him to sleep with my wife. I love him. Right, there he is carrying the cross. And G2, for they did not understand him. For they did not understand the savior JKS. They're whipping him and whipping him and whipping him. And JKS is, oh, please, I just want to play. Why are you ghosting me? Why are you whipping me? Why? I just want to play and win and be the best player ever. And there's Nico. It's all me. I don't even have to hold the whip. I don't even have to hold the whip to get you whipped, JKS. That's the reality in the mind of a JKS fan. But anyway, JKS can only be failed, right? Joe Biden, Jesus, JKS, the holy trinity of J's. Now, of course, what JKS went through was ultimately what every player goes through. He was in a team. The team went through a period of indifference. Things are changing. It's been 6 months. Roll the dice, I guess. Have a change. Yeah, of course you do. Who can we change? Should we drop Munacy, young superstar that we paid 600 grand for? Nah, don't think we're going to do that. Should we drop Hunter, cousin of Nico? Upset Nico? Nah, can't really do that. Shall we drop Nico? Well, Nico nearly left to go to Falcons, didn't he? Fucking hell. Whew. Nearly lost our star player. Can't really cut him. Shall we drop the IGL? Well, no, we be Hooksin, right? So fuck it. Who's left? I'm sorry, it's your beloved JKS Reddit. And so there were 2 things that happened on Reddit. Everybody was saying it must be Nico and it must be money related. The narrative that formed was Nico was going to go. They were going to keep JKS. Nico came back and said, couple of conditions if I stay. Yeah, he was out the door. He had his bags. And he said, listen, bitch, I'll stay. But there's going to be some changes around here. Bitch. And he said that. Just like that. And G2 said, what's that, Mr. Nico? We'll do anything. We'll change anything. And he said, right, I want more money. Of course, Nico. Of course, because what I'm saying, you can have all the money. And I want my friends in. What do you mean, your friends? Get that Nexa back. Always liked him. Well, we can't just hire a friend. Times are hard. It's the esports winter. You just get him and bring him in. And I don't care how you make it work. And they had to cut JKS. And that was the narrative. Reddit really believed that's what happened. 100%. Right? The other thing that started happening on Reddit, people started spamming, JKS died for this. No joke. That is a real thing people are spamming. Just to show you how mental the Jesus comparisons are, JKS died for this. He didn't die. He got cut from a team because they had to make changes to win, right? JKS died for this, is what they were all spamming. Now, I want to just to let everybody know where we're at, because I know it's kind of hard for people to accept. But just a reminder of where we were actually at, right, with JKS, just as a player. The way everyone talks about him, you would think he was some prodigious talent, like just insane, doing all of the things. But keep in mind that as we were phasing out and coming into CS2, this is kind of where he was at. And it's wildly inconsistent because you'll go, holy shit, 1.29 for your fourth best player? Wow, 1.39? 32 for 19 against the mighty Linvision in a narrow overtime win? Wow, JKS dragged them over the line in that one. But here's the problem. If you're turning up 0.59s, 0.84s, and 0.83s, and 0.70s, and 0.78s, and this is a matter of frequency, there's a fucking problem there. You are an inconsistent player by definition. And I don't want to hear that, no, but because he plays anchor and he plays really passive positions, if everyone else pops off, of course he's going to have low statistics. No. So that's where we were at. So obviously, they got to roll the dice. It has to be JK. I'd have cut Hooksy. Of course I would. Well, you know me. And you should never have had the job in the first place. That's the reality. So anyway, the JK sexuals have literally been spamming Reddit and saying, JKS died for this. G2 played in an online cup and they were fucking trash. And everyone went, well, it's just brilliant, isn't it? And even Nexa did a tweet and he went, haha. Who cut JKS for Nexa? Who would do this? And everyone was going, well, actually, you shouldn't joke about that type of thing, even though that's like, their entire shtick, by the way, at G2, something they've always done. Like, laugh off the defeats, joke about it. In fact, here it is. Look, I'll prove it to you, because, we're going hard tonight. There it is. Who the fuck thought bringing in Nexa was a good idea? What the fuck? And, look, top comment. It's trying to be a joke, but at the same time, that's literally what everyone is actually thinking. JKS died for this. JKS died for... See, I told you. I don't tell you no lies when I go live. So that's where they're at. Anyway, while everyone on Reddit has been sort of silently just astrally projecting their hatred into G2 and wanting them to lose, which they've done. Subsequently, spoiler, it would have been really good if they were winning this video, but they are losing at the moment. But who gives a fuck? It's end of the year. It's all about the major in March. Who cares? So anyway, there's an interview, and it's too perfect. It happened the other day. Love the work here, by the way, Mira. He's nailed it. JKS would be out of the team whether I left G2 or stayed. Well, that's a bit of a narrative destroyer. Holy shit. It's clickbait. It has to be clickbait. You know what Mira's bloody like with his bloody clickbait. Can't trust these bloody journalists with their bloody clickbait. So JKS will be out of the team whether I left G2 or stayed. So immediately, before we even go into the paragraphs in this interview, look, what can we just take from the headline? What's the takeaway? Well, obviously, it destroys the narrative that if Nico only stayed because he got his way and got Nexa in, and they had to cut JKS for the money. No. JKS was gone, right? And so let's have a look and see here. What I love as well about the way the interview is structured, because Mira knows the game, is he's gone, right, let's just ask a nice question. Straight to the JKS stuff. Let's get the Reddit stuff in. Reddit are obsessed with JKS. I've got Nico. He's one of the world's best players. What shall I ask him about? JKS. Of course you do. In fact, it's a matter of routine. I think every player in the scene should be asked a question about JKS, actually. You know, just it should just be standard, I think. I want to see it implemented at Blast World Finals, even though JKS isn't there. I think everybody should ask a question. JKS isn't at this tournament. How does that make you feel? I think that should just be a standard question every single player should be asked, because it's what people want to know, right? Like, what is going on? Where is JKS? So, here's the question. Some people were a little surprised, understatement of the year, about the roster change, and there have been comments about Nexa being a bit of a downgrade over JKS. What can you say about the logic behind this change and what Nexa brings to the table? Nico, I don't want to get too much into it, since this all happened when I was pretty much out of G2. Huh. Interesting. That's a very strange way to begin framing things, isn't it? Because if you think about it, what he's accidentally said there between the lines is it was nothing to do with him, and it was the team, it was the remaining team, Hunter, Muncie, and your beloved Hooksy, that decided JKS had to go. Ooh, interesting. Nothing to do with Nico, you say. Now, obviously, you can take it with a pinch of salt, because players lie all the fucking time. There's my Richard House MD moment. All players lie, you fucking joke. Right? So, there you go. Why don't I have an Emmy? But the fucking reality is, I'm going to say, Nico isn't playing some Machiavellian media game here. Right, like I'm gonna say that you can pretty much just say take this at face value, especially as some of this is accidentally illustrative of what was going on, behind the scenes. Justin is a great player, but like me and every other player, he has pros and cons. No. JKS doesn't have cons. JKS doesn't have cons. Have you seen Reddit, Nico? I don't think he does, mate. I understand that most people are not happy with the move, since Justin was putting up pretty good numbers, especially in big games. But it's not only about the numbers. Oh, yeah, Reddit does say that, actually. They do say that a lot. Usually when they're talking about Hooksy, and there are things that people outside of the team can't see. Ooh. All right, then. So that's paragraph number 1. What does this tell me? This tells me, right, that just for all of Reddit's love about JKS, one thing has remained true about JKS, and it's a well-known thing. They all talked about it in the Australian scene. They all talked about it in the North American scene. They all talked about it when he was on Complexity. It was actually there for everyone to see if you just watch the games. And by the way, JKS is the only player that just completely inverts Reddit's modus operandi. Because I know for a fact Reddit are body language experts. Everyone on Reddit's a body language expert for every other player. Yeah, you can tell he hates it. Simple's bullying him. You can tell he hates Simple. You can tell he hates Dorin. You can tell. Endlessly threads about how, like, I can just look at a screen and immediately know and infer what someone is fucking thinking by their body language. So I don't know, Reddit. You're all experts at it. You should be that motherfucker, the character Tim Roth plays, and fucking lie to me. That's what you should be. You should all be there. Nah, he's lying. Oh, why? Because you're an expert in body language? Nah, I'm just a biased cunt. Right? That's how that show would go. He would just be fitting up innocent people all the time. But anyway, here's what we know. He used to play with a face like a smacked arse, didn't he, on a good day? Never looked happy in Complexity. That's the joke about that smile, that damned smile. He never fucking smiled. Everyone I've ever talked to says he's a bit of a fucking diva, you know what I mean? Like, just he gets upset, he stops commenting when the times are tough and things like that. But obviously, the massive swing of the plus side is when times are good, you do get an outgoing, happy, dude. Like, so cool, right? So he's like a normal human being. It's just, there's no off switch for when he's playing in the fucking match, which is not ideal. So I'm telling you, based on this, there is stuff outside of the game. That's what's gone on. There's stuff outside of the game. Now, I don't know what that is, but if you look at G2, they're a pretty tight-knit group. And I think JKS is just someone who is always periphery to the in-group. And so that becomes a problem when times are hard and you want to communicate. So it's super interesting that, again, thanks to Sir Chatter Baggington and all the other JKS propagandists, the absolute truth, apparently, is that JKS was done wrong by G2. They ghosted him for 2 weeks. They ghosted him and mistreated him, and then he just had, and now he can't get on a team. Why, by the way, if he's so good? Loads of opportunities. I think like 8 out of the fucking 10 best teams in the world are all international lineups. It's actually easier for a good player who speaks English to get on a team now than it ever has been. So why isn't he on a team? I don't know. Maybe people behind the scenes know things you don't, Reddit, but whatever. So there you go. He has been cut from the roster by your beloved Hooksy and the other two players and G2 management because he doesn't fit in. That's it. The end, by the way. So you need to ask yourself why your beloved Jesus stand-in doesn't fit in. Second paragraph. I think that Nexa is a really good team player, right? The implication there being that JKS somehow isn't, that will sacrifice himself for the team a lot. The implication there being that JKS didn't, and will also bring good communication and more initiative to the team. I think that with Justin, we had too many star roles in the team. Interesting. Nexa will require less space and will do more for the team. I truly believe that Justin will also shine and play better somewhere else as a star player, and I wish him nothing but the best. So there you go. What's being implemented there? It's the same shit. He's implying he's a diva again, that he wants the star roles. He doesn't want to do the donkey work. Right, see, because you think just because someone, again, this is Reddit, you think just because someone plays on an anchor, as an anchor role, or plays like a defensive position, and they get shit stats because of it, because realistically, if they get 2 kills to stop a push on the CT side, it's a miracle. You will justify the low stats. But here's the reality. I don't remember a lot of JKS, like, stood there for Nico with a flashbang out, or doing that kind of stuff. I don't remember that. Now, watch the games. I've been watching the Blast World Finals, and they've lost the games. I'm not saying they're a better team, but what Nexa has been doing way more of is he's been using his utility way better than JKS. He's been flashing and, creating opportunities for, like, Hunter. There's some, like, really... in fact, I haven't even looked at the utility stats before this stream. If someone wants to do it, go and have a look. Bet Nexa's right up there. So, what Nico's talking about here... It's being practically applied in the team. Because, again, Reddit, Richard doesn't understand the game. Well, it's not all about frags, but it suddenly is now. If Nex has a bad game, look, he's fragging less than Hooks. I thought it wasn't about frags. So which is it? Riddle me this. The bottom line is there, Nico doesn't even know what he said. And he has said... quite plainly to people who understand media work and interviews and all that stuff, Nico is saying JKS wanted more space, wanted to be a star, wasn't doing the stuff that they need. Here's the thing, if you go to a team like G2 and you're playing with Munacy, you're playing with Hunter, you're playing with Nico, you ignore Hooksy, right? You don't get to be a star. Sorry, that job is taken. You don't get to have space. You don't get to ball out. That job is taken. What you do get to do is you get to be the guy who goes around and fucking makes opportunities for those players. Do you know how I know this? Because you can be a truly great player and win the highest trophies there are to offer in the space by doing exactly that. Because we had a player, for instance, who did exactly that and will probably go down as a legend in the game. Not top tier, not first ballot, but eventually he's going to get in, and I'm talking about Taco. Remember how everyone wanted to cut Taco when he wasn't fragging? All he does is just a bot. All he does is bait for Cold Zero. Turns out it's all you have to do. If you've got fucking 2016 Cold Zero in your fucking lineup. So why can't JKS be like a Taco? Why can't he be a selfless player? Good question, right? I'll tell you why. Because he's too used to being the star player. He was the fucking star in Oceania. He was the fucking star in all them Australian lineups. He was the star in the 100 Thieves lineups. He was a top 20 player in 2019, 2020. Which, by the way, all online play in 2020, and he should never have been in the top 20, but just because of how it worked, they just put him in. So, at the end of the day, someone has got to do that type of work in a team. That's why we always say all-star lineups can't work. Every IGL wants a guy that's versatile. Every IGL wants a player that's selfless. Every IGL wants a player who doesn't look at the scoreboard. And by the way, G2's new coach Taz, and I couldn't be happier, my man Taz got a fucking coaching job. Super happy about it. Let me tell you, Taz knows about this phenomenon. He has said it publicly. He said even when we were like the team after the Golden Five, he used to get super pissed off with Pasha, for instance, because he said he used to get in his own head and start playing for the scoreboard. He said we had players on our roster who would play for the scoreboard. I think he said it about Luke at one point as well. He knows about that shit. So it definitely happens. And every IGL and every coach wants a guy who's malleable and selfless. If you ask Carrigan, it's Rain for him. If you ask Fallen, it's Taco for him. Everybody's got one. And you didn't have one in G2. Now, can Nexa be that guy? Nah, I don't know, actually. I've got my doubts about that. I always thought they were hedging their bets by bringing Nexa in because you've got a stand-in IGL if you do decide to cut Hooksy, which they should. But bottom line is, on the games I've seen, Nexa is doing way more selfless work in the 5-6 matches, whatever it's been, with that online cup and the Blast World Finals that I think they're now out of. He's done way more selfless work than I ever saw JKS do. By the way, Reddit's meant to love that stuff, but you don't. You don't really. You just play favourites on Reddit, don't you? That's what you do. So, absolute fucking nonsense that Reddit is perpetuating. And you're going to have to wake up to the fact, guys. Your saviour might not be your saviour. Now, unfortunately, what do you think the reaction was like? Because remember, it's a hat-trick of videos about Reddit. Do you think they said, oh, well, you know, I guess Nico and the team have insights into JKS's behaviour that we don't? Or do you think they said, well, Sponge is massively biased towards JKS, even by his own admission? Or do you think they said, well, let's just give this Nexa move some time, because when JKS and Hooksy joined and they were losing all their games, we gave it time then before we were Hooksin. No, they didn't do any of that. Because demanding consistency from Reddit is like, the one that popped in my head is Twitch inappropriate. But insert edgy joke here. Do that. So, here it is. It goes to Reddit. The general response was, this is even worse. It's worse. So, remember, the narrative was, okay, so let me get this straight again, because there's so much stuff you fucking invented in your diseased brains, Reddit. But let me just see. So, Nico was going, but on to Falcons to get the bag, but then got a bigger bag from G2 to stay, and he said, I'm only staying if I get the big bag, the giant bag, and Nexa gets to come, and you cut JKS. And then G2 ghosted him, JKS that is, for 2 weeks, but really much, much longer, ruining JKS's chances to get on any team ever, despite it being easier to get on a team than it ever has been before for a good player that speaks English. And so fuck G2 forever, right? Top comment? This is even worse. Worse than that? Worse than that narrative you constructed whole cloth where everyone except JKS was to blame? Really? Oh, interesting. Okay. Right? Doesn't this, G2 Flair, by the way, doesn't this make G2 management look even worse? They knew JKS was out the entire time, but didn't have the balls to tell him, or what? If JKS wasn't gone, if Nico had left, then they at least have the excuse of them not knowing what to tell JKS either. But they knew he was out and ghosted him. And again, it's this literally parroting a biased source without any secondary evidence whatsoever. As we've said, from the initial rumours making it in the news to them signing Nexa was a little over 2 weeks. So how long did they actually ghost him for, right? And keep in mind, they didn't ghost him. They did what the org has to do. The org needs a player. Why would they cut JKS before they'd signed a replacement? Why would they do that? It's like so risky because they might have ended up having to keep him. So why demoralize him? By the way, while this was going on, JKS just chilling in Australia, seeing his fam, seeing his friends. It wasn't like they put him in a fucking cage and said, right, you're in here, JKS. But why, sir? Why, Mr. G2 management, sir? When do I get out of the cage? Sorry, wagey, in your cagey. We don't know. That's not what happened, right? It's fucking literally, yeah, go on holiday, mate. We'll let you know what's going on next season, you know, blah, blah. And then they tell him. Like, after 2 weeks. But this is worse, apparently. The fact that JKS was getting cut, regardless. Here we go again. G2 ghosting the poor guy, which did not allow him to search for a new team. What's stopping him now? It's just downright scummy. What's stopping teams asking about JKS? What's stopping that? Does anyone know? Anyone? What is stopping me, an org, with money to spend, going to G2 and going, JKS is so good, so integral to my plans, to anyone's plans who wants to build a good team. Would you sell him? Who's stopping that? No? No one? No answers on that one? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, of course. So he wasn't allowed to search for a new team for 2 weeks, and it's just downright scummy, especially so when they had intentions of cutting him from the get-go. When was the get-go again? Was it after they crashed out of another tournament, maybe, because they weren't good enough? Maybe that? Somebody wades in and goes, he's benched, he's still getting paid. It's still insanely unprofessional, but he's getting the chance to search for another team right now. For a professional not to play regularly for 2 weeks at a high level is a huge loss, and you cannot put a price on it, because if his form drops off, his career might take a nosedive. Who knows? What G2 did was shitty, plain and simple. This motherfucker was benched for 9 months on complexity, while you guys said, definitely pick him up, he's still the best player, top 20 player, JKS. Which is it? Pick one. G2 didn't have the balls, right? The main boiling point is still how he was kicked. And doesn't this insinuate that Nico knew before JKS did? They imply JKS doesn't communicate, yet they literally pull the same thing. Then, I love this retcon. A real-time retcon from Reddit. While a lot of people are mad at the move, most of it comes from how he was removed. Many people still think Nexus is a downgrade, but the backlash wouldn't be that bad if the org didn't allegedly ghost him for weeks. Dude, you didn't even know that! Reddit didn't even know that! Reddit didn't even know that then! You're just rewriting history! You were just pissed off at the move, because your fucking favourite got dropped! How do I know that? I can literally prove it, you fucking morons! I can literally prove it! All I have to do is go Reddit... Right? JKS. There's a million threads all about his smile. I go there. I go to new. By the way, if you think I'm joking about there being literal threads about his smile, right? Just in case you think I am, like, you don't know how fucking mentally ill Reddit is as a collective when it comes to this one player. Unrelated to the thrust of the video, but worth including, JKS. Manic smile. For real, there's loads of threads like this. Like, for real. For real. Look at him smile. Ultra rare JK smile. He's smiling. Like, guys, see a fucking doctor. Like, for real. Like, you're saying I'm obsessed. This is fucking mental. Never felt this way about any player who's ever played this fucking game. Ever. So, here's how I know. This is before Sponge said about the ghosting. Right? This is the literal reaction to the original story before the ghosting. G2 bench JKS. The fuck is this roster move? I guess keeping Nico comes at a cost. There's that narrative again. In what world is Nexus better than JKS? Reddit on Suicide Watch. Don't really understand. He's outstanding for his role, right? I don't believe for a second. That's pimp. So, this is before they even knew he was ghosted, and they were going fucking... They were having a Benny about it. They're having a total fucking Benny about it. A mass Benny happening. We'll wrap up the Reddit reactions, right? We'll go back to the original thread. But, like, don't fucking retcon it, guys. You just couldn't handle that JKS was fucking dropped for Nexa. That's exactly what happened. Somebody pointed out, Kassad said the same thing. Keep in mind, by the way... Kassad is like a massive JKS stan. I imagine he'll be in talks with JKS right now. I imagine that, like, because he's acting GM of Bleed. I imagine he'll be in talks with JKS. I imagine he'll be trying to sign him. But he said the same thing. Look at this. Speaking of JKS, I'm wondering where he will end up. I can see him going to Mouse. Well, that's interesting, because Sponge thinks he's too good for Mouse. He said on his podcast, didn't he? He said, I'm not going to let you die on a team like Mouse or OG. Too good. He's too good for those teams. So, it has to be a G. Remember as well, by the way, when everybody was, where's JKS going to go after the FaZe happening? It was like, FaZe should keep him. Drop Rain. They thought he was good enough for FaZe. What happened since then? FaZe obviously won a bunch of tournaments, absolutely dominated at the start of CS2 with Rain. Then they were, got to be, well, who's the next best team? Well, he should just be on any team. Any team. Heroic, anywhere. It's like, no, he should never have been on a top 3, arguably top 5 team, unfortunately, guys. You're just insane. Then look at that. Nico, we weren't assholes. We were massive assholes. That's the takeaway. Dog shit org. Hope they lose every game. This is a Nico PR piece. I wouldn't take it as fact by any means. Crazy they were going to downgrade from JKS to Nexa, who was Nico's best friend. I don't even know where they're pulling that from. Even if he left them for Falcons. Makes no sense when there's this much smoke around someone. Usually there's some fire, especially considering his past. But Nico had nothing to do with anything. It's comical. Then, by the way, somebody literally replied saying adding Nexa was Nico's proposal. He said it himself. And here's the thing. They don't even understand fucking basic sarcasm. Happy I could pull this deal off. Welcome, Nexa. You mean clearing over your sarcasm, you fucking morons. So, we can now complete the hat trick. And this is it. Like, JKS is out with G2. I want everybody to sort of realise that people are pushing this other narrative parallel to what's going on with G2. And what they're saying is that JKS had a cursed career. A cursed career. How's he had a cursed career? First of all, he's Australian. He should have no career whatsoever. Right? He should have been, like, to get out of Australia and even have the opportunity to play in NA and fucking, be on all these top teams. It's a miracle for an Australian player. So, first of all, he's been super lucky. He's defied the odds with that. And I'll give it you. 2018, maybe even 2019 JKS. Yeah, I fuck with that player. He could be a star player on smaller lineups, no doubt. So, from there, he got signed to Complexity, where he was so unlucky that after playing bang average, he got dropped on him, and he was one of the highest paid players in the world, and he got to draw a huge salary for not doing anything for about 9 to 10 months. Then, because everybody fucking likes him so much, for reasons, he got talked into a job where he gets to stand in for FaZe with the best IGL for using stand-ins, wins a tournament, everyone goes, look, it's JKS. The K stands for Katowice. And then you talk him onto G2, who should have been the best team in the world at that point, and should have had an era, and should have won a major, didn't because of Hooksy and JKS, still gets to win 3 tournaments in the weakest era of Counter-Strike since the professional game started. And now we're being gaslit into believing that G2 dropping him is insane, that he is a player entitled to a contract, and he will walk in to a top team before the major. So no, I'm going to put it to you. He not only has he not been cursed, that is one of the luckiest, flukiest careers I've ever seen in this game. Because this game is brutal, like a lot of sports. And I don't want to hear otherwise. So there you go. There's your God. There he is, the passion of the Justin, my very own Justin. JKS falls for the first time. But you're going to have to wake the fuck up, Reddit, and realise that there's a reason these things keep happening to this player, despite all the efforts made to the contrary to position him in lineups he doesn't really belong in.